Hello, welcome to another episode of our live stream, My Journey to the Trinity. My name is Hussein. Looks kind of messy here. Sorry about that. This has been my bed of infirmity for the last couple of days. Haven't been feeling too good, but I'm feeling better now. So I thought I'd do a live stream. And this is one of my favorite topics I like talking about. Is this magic donkey ride that happened with Muhammad? Um, for those of you know, in Arabic, it's called Laylat al-Isra or Mi'raj. Isra. Now, what happened supposedly? Thank you, Abdullah. God bless you. What supposedly happened is that Muhammad was in supposedly, I guess, from if you judge it by the verse in the Quran, there's a verse in the Quran about this situation. Maybe we should look at that. To It's not really about this, but they've made it about this, and it's Quran chapter 17, which is called Al Isra. And if you ask me, Al Isra, uh, well, um, first of all, let's look at what it says here. This whole story is based on this one verse of the Quran. It's kind of a verse that doesn't really say a lot. It's very ambiguous, like most of the Quran verses, and it says um, exalted. Okay, I'm going to see which one of these is the most of these. Okay, let's look at this one right here. This is where glorified be he who carried his servant by night from the inviolable place of worship to the far distant place of worship, the neighborhood whereof we have blessed, and we might show him of our tokens. Lo, he is the hearer and seer. Okay, so it says, in Arabic, Subhan الذي أسر بعبده ليلة من المسجد الحرام إلى مسجد الأقصى. Let's see how the Quran.com translates. Exalted the one who took his servant night
ليلا
from Masjid al-Haram, the mosque of al-Haram, which in this case here means the Kaaba, the black rock in Mecca, Haram, to the Masjid al-Aqsa, to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, الذي barakna hawlahu, that we blessed its surroundings. Okay, so it's kind of saying, "Blessed be Allah who took the belief." Let me just tell you, this one right here shows you actually what Muslims believe, but it's not what the Quran says. But let's look at it just so we get an idea what Muslims believe. Exalted is he who took his servant Muhammad by night uh, from Masjid al-Haram, that's the mosque in Mecca, to the mosque in Jerusalem, Al Aqsa in Jerusalem, whose surroundings we have blessed. Da, 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 da. Okay, there is a lot of problems with this. Lots and lots of problems with this. So the belief is that Muhammad was, going along. He was near Mecca, and then Allah sent Jibril with a donkey, with a magic donkey, and this magic donkey, Muhammad got on the magic donkey, and when he got on the donkey started flying to Jerusalem. Okay, he flew from Mecca to Jerusalem. This is what the story is. Okay, and by the way, this story is not in the Quran. This story is not. Uh, they came up with this later because they wanted to give Muhammad some miracles. Okay, uh, and so they came up with this story. Uh, and I'll give you a theory later why they came up with this story. Okay. So anyway, let me just look at Uh, so here is a picture, just to kind of help you understand. I want to show you the flight path of this magic donkey, and this is the flight path. Okay, so it came from here, okay, from Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and this donkey. And by the way, Jibril, okay, this donkey could fly, but the donkey did not have GPS, so it didn't know where it was going. So it says Jibril was holding the donkey by a rope. So Jibril was leading it in the air, and Muhammad was riding the donkey. And so it flew. It flew with Muhammad on its back, with Jibril leading from Mecca all the way up here to Jerusalem. Okay, that is a 908-mile journey. Is a 908-mile journey. If you were to drive it, it'd be 15 hours and 3 minutes. Let me see. If you want an idea in like America terms, uh, um, let me see. You know what? It's pretty similar to if you were to drive from if you were to go from Los Angeles to Portland, Oregon. It's similar to going from Los Angeles to Portland, Oregon. That's the distance from Mecca to Jerusalem. So apparently, Muhammad got on the magic donkey and flew from Mecca to uh, the Al Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. And now the verse in the Quran, one thing it says that Muslims cling to, especially uh, especially the Palestinian, because this is the most holy place to Muslim Palestinians in terms of in the Holy Land, is the word Al Aqsa. You see, Al Aqsa is written there in Arabic. It's called the Al Aqsa Mosque, and this Al Aqsa. Al-Aqsa is like the third holiest site to Muslims in the world after Mecca and Medina. So let me just show you this picture here. Okay. Let me just show you. Muhammad supposedly flew from the Black Rock in Mecca, where the Black Rock is in the Kaaba, to this place. This is Jerusalem, the Temple Mount to the Jews. To the Muslims, it's called Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa has two major buildings on it. One of them is this very famous Dome of the Rock. This is the dome. This is on the. It's built on a rock that the Jews call the foundation stone, which is where they believe the Holy of Holies was, and the Jews have a lot of legends about the rock as well, including they believe this is where Abraham offered Isaac. Now, the Muslims say that this right here, see the black dome? The black dome is Al-Aqsa. Okay, now this is on the Temple Mount. There's two major mosques on the Temple Mount. And this one is Al-Aqsa Mosque, the one with the black dome right over here. This is actually Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is actually called the Dome of the Rock. In Arabic, is Sakhra, which means the rock. so and so the belief among Muslims about what happened to Muhammad is he flew from Mecca to this place, to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Okay, and then he supposedly, so the night journey was a two-part journey. First of all, he flew from Mecca to here, to this place, supposedly, parked the donkey over here, and then he walked up to the rock. And when he walked up to the rock, he was taken supposedly up to heaven from here. And he went, so this is the second part of the journey. The first part is called Isra. Isra, which is the name of the surah in the Quran. Isra. It's Surah 19, which means which is called Isra, meaning the night journey, essentially, but it doesn't really mean that. But so supposedly the Isra is actually part one of the journey from Mecca to Jerusalem, and on the magic donkey, and then he was he was with the rock, on the rock, standing on the rock, and then the rock started ascending, and Muhammad started ascending upwards, and he went up to Al Jannah. He went up to Al Jannah. In Al Jannah, he supposedly saw Moses, he saw Isa, he saw Abraham, saw other prophets. He saw the seven heavens, and each major prophet, each of the seven heavens had a major prophet in it, and Muhammad talked to them, and uh, and then he went and saw Allah, and Allah said, tell your people to pray 50 times a day. And then Muhammad went down and then told Moses, hey, Moses, Allah told me to tell my people to pray 50 times a day. And Moses said, dude, your people aren't going to pray 50 times a day. Go up there and tell Allah you want less than that. And so he goes back up, and then Allah says, okay, make it 45. So he goes back down and tells Moses, and Moses says, dude, there's no way your people are going to pray 45 times a day. They're not going to be able to do anything else all day long. Just praying 45 times a day. Says there's no way. Tell Allah that your people aren't going to be able to do that. So Muhammad went back up, talked to Allah again. Allah said, okay, make it 35. He went back down, and then Moses said, dude, give me a break. People are not going to pray 35 times a day. Tell Allah to be more realistic. And he kept going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, till finally they came down to 5 prayers a day. And then Moses said, there you go, that'll work. And Moses had experience in creating religions by then, because he made Judaism, so he had more experience on how to make a religion. So anyway, Muhammad brought it down to 5 prayers, and then Muhammad got back on the donkey and flew back to Mecca. Then he flew back to Mecca after that. Um, and then, there's a lot of problems with this story. One thing Abla is saying is that it was a pointless miracle. Absolutely, it was a pointless miracle. It was one thing you notice about the miracles of Jesus is that they always have a benefit. They always have a benefit for somebody. He healed the blind, made the blind see, and that benefited the blind. He raised the dead because he was a young man, the young girl, and the young man whose mother was a widow. There's always a benefit to Jesus's miracle. What's the benefit of this magic donkey ride? What's the benefit? Go figure. So anyway, so Muhammad got the 5 prayers during this time. But this is a holiday that Muslims celebrate every year. It's called Laylat al-Mi'raj, the night of Mi'raj. Mi'raj is the second part. That's the part where he went from Jerusalem up to Jannah. And so Muslims celebrate Isra. They celebrate this every year. It's a big feast with the Muslims when he went up to heaven and got the 5 prayers. And then he supposedly flew back to Mecca, went back to bed, let's just look at some of the writings about this situation. This is a little bit long here, but I was mounted on a beast. This is from Ibn Sa'd, who's a very big, very famous Muslim historian. Okay, he says, I was mounted on a beast whose size was between that of a donkey and a mule, with two wings in its thighs, which came up to its hooves and were set in them. When I went near to ride, it became restive. Thereupon Jibreel put his hand on its head and said, O Burak, are you not ashamed of what you are doing? By Allah, no servant of Allah has ridden you before Muhammad, more honored in the sight of Allah. You know, it felt ashamed till it was covered with sweat and became calm. Then I mounted it. It started to move its ears, and the earth shrank to such an extent that its hooves seemed to touch the surface of the end of the range of our sight. It had a long back with long ears. Jibril accompanied me and never lost touch with me, nor did we until we reached Beit el Maqdis, that's in Jerusalem, the holy house or the temple, and Al Burak reached its halting place. It was tied there, and it was the place of where the beasts of the prophets were before. The apostle of Allah, may Allah, the prophet said, I saw the prophets who had assembled there for me. I saw Abraham, Moses, Jesus. I thought there might be someone to lead them in prayer. Jibreel made me go forward until I offered the prayers in front of them and inquired of them about their mission. They said, we were commissioned with the unity of Allah, whatever that means. So anyway, there's one hadith about it. Here's something. Okay, I got to make this a little bit bigger. Let me just put this up here too. Let me just make this big so you can see this. It says, okay, now this is what the Muslim view of Al-Mi'raj is. Undoubtedly, Isra and Mi'raj are among the great signs of Allah that point to the truth of his messenger Muhammad and the greatness of his status before Allah, may he be, okay. Furthermore, they are proofs of the great mighty power of Allah and his highness above all his creation. May Allah be glorified in interpretations of the meanings. Okay. So anyway, this is very, very important to Muslims this day, and let's look a little bit more about what it says about this. Okay, it says Allah's messenger said to him, "The prayer of a person in this house is a single prayer. His prayer in the mosque of his tribe has been a reward of 25 prayers. His prayer in the mosque where the Friday prayer is observed is a reward of 500 prayers. His prayer in the Mosque of Al-Aqsa, Jerusalem, has a reward of 50,000 prayers. His prayer in my house, that's Muhammad's house in Medina, has a reward of 50,000 prayers. And the prayer in the Kaaba has a reward of 100,000 prayers. So you see there, if you pray at the Black Rock, you get 100,000 points. If you pray at Muhammad's tomb, you get 50,000 points. And if you pray at Jerusalem at Al-Aqsa Mosque, you get 25,000 prayers, 25,000 points. So all of this is about generating points, you guys. And this makes up for lots of, like if you went for a long time, you didn't pray your regular prayers and stuff, you go to Mecca, Medina, you go and make up, and your sins are forgiven again, and you get all these points so that you will, really yeah. Hey, Blackwater, my friend, I'm going to fly a donkey to Mexico in April. Yes. But I don't know, the way they're closing the border, Emmanuel. You may need a magic donkey to get back to America, but so anyway, this is Muhammad's okay. So you get different amount of points for whichever one you do. Now here's a hadith. It says Al Burak was brought to Muhammad on the night of Al Isra. Okay, this is saddled and reined, but he shied from him. So Jibril said to him, "Is it from Muhammad that you do this? By your Lord, there is no one more honorable to your Lord than Muhammad." He said. Then he started sweating profusely. And of course, this hadith is da'if. But so the donkey, and you guys, by the way, you know, there are some people we could talk about Muhammad situation with donkeys because there's many donkeys in Islam. There's a donkey called Zafur. Jafur. Jafur was a donkey that loved Muhammad. Muhammad rode this donkey, and supposedly Jafur was descended from the donkey that Jesus rode into Jerusalem, descended from a donkey that Moses rode, descended from a donkey that David and Abraham rode. They all rode. All the prophets rode relatives or donkeys that were descendants of each other, according to the Hadith. So all like Adam's donkeys and Noah's donkeys, they were all from the same line, same lineage. And Jafur, who was Muhammad's donkey, he was like related to one of his great grandfathers was the donkey that Jesus rode into Jerusalem in Zechariah chapter 9. And so all these donkeys are related, okay, from the same lineage. Now, you guys, I'm not making this up. Please, if there's any Muslims, don't get mad at me. This is in your books. And when Muhammad died, Jafur committed suicide. He jumped into a well and killed himself because he was so distressed at the death of Muhammad. So, again, this is all in your hadith. I'm not making any of this up. Okay. But let's get back to Al Burak here real quickly. Yes, they're all descended. I think it goes back to Adam, not just to Abraham. This donkey line is a very long, extensive. So now there's some problems. There's some problems with this story. Number one, let me just tell you. Okay, now a lot of you guys don't read Arabic. And so some of you do, though. The thing about this verse is it doesn't say nothing about Jerusalem. There's nothing in the whole Quran about Jerusalem. The word for Jerusalem in Arabic, Yerushalayim, which comes from the Hebrew Yerushalayim, uh, uh, in the Arabic, Yerushalayim is they take it from the Hebrew, Yerushalayim. Urshalim in Arabic. But not one time is it mentioned in the Quran. The Quran never, ever mentions Jerusalem. It never, ever. You'll find Palestine mentioned more in the Quran than Jerusalem. Neither are mentioned in the Quran. Jerusalem is never mentioned in the Quran. And not in this verse. What this verse does name, it does not name the cities of these mosques. But what this verse does name is two sanctuaries. One of them is called Haram Sharif, the noble mosque. Not necessarily mosque, but place of worship. To Al Aqsa Mosque, the place of worship, a sanctuary. And Al Aqsa means the farthest mosque. Okay, so and so that's all it says. And you know what's so interesting, you guys? This verse, interestingly, so it doesn't name the cities that these mosques. So this is the number one thing that's missing from this verse is what is the location of these two sanctuaries? What is the location? They're not named in this verse. It doesn't say Mecca, it doesn't say Medina, it doesn't say. Oh, by the way, I just want to tell you that while Jerusalem is called Urushalim in Arabic in the Bible, the Muslims call Jerusalem Al-Quds. It's called Al-Quds That means the holy city. Al-Quds means the holy. And so today, if you're looking for Jerusalem in Arabic, it's called Al-Quds, Al-Quds, which means the holy. And this does have a relationship to a Hebrew word that maybe some of you guys know. You may know the song Kadosh, 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 Elohim, Adonai, Shevao. The word kadosh means holy. In Arabic, the word is kudus. Because Arabic and Hebrew are very close. They're cousin languages. Okay, so in Hebrew it's kadosh. In Arabic it's kudus. Kudus. And so the name of Jerusalem, El Quds, comes from that word Kudus. Kudus, holy in Arabic. Al Quds means the holy. Okay, and so it actually means the holy, but it's also the name of Jerusalem in Arabic. I mean, it's like the colloquial name of Jerusalem in Arabic is Al Quds. And especially among the Muslims, it's called Al Quds. So if you want to go to Jerusalem, talk to an Arab, say Al Quds. So never once mentioned in the Quran. This city is not mentioned in the Quran at all, never ever was. Okay, never was, never will be. It's not mentioned in the Quran. But the Muslims say that this is in the Quran. This is what is meant. Okay, now these two, the verse doesn't mention the location of these two verses, these two sanctuaries, but there's something else that this verse doesn't mention. This verse doesn't mention the name of the servant who was taken from this sanctuary to this sanctuary. It just says Allah took his servant from this sanctuary to this sanctuary. So his servant was taken from this sanctuary to this sanctuary. But the thing is, you don't know abdihi. The word is abdihi, which means his slave. Asra bi abdihi. He took his slave, his servant. The problem is it doesn't tell you the name. It doesn't say Muhammad. Which slave? Which servant? There's in the Quran says, there's actually a verse in the Quran where Isa, who's their alleged Messiah, says that he is the Abd of Allah. He is the servant of Allah. So when it says or Isa says that he's the servant of Allah, is maybe this was supposed to be Isa, the Messiah, who was taken from this sanctuary to this sanctuary, from Bethlehem to Jerusalem or something like that, because the cities aren't named. But it doesn't say Muhammad. It doesn't say Muhammad. And let me tell you one other thing, you guys, that is very interesting. I think it's extremely significant. Extremely significant. And that is that go to verse 2 of this chapter, and then the rest of it. And it's all about Moses. Go to the next verse. Go to the next verses on this surah, and it's all about Moses. It's like blink, here Muhammad's going from Mecca to Jerusalem and the donkey and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, verse 2, and it's talking about Moses. It's talking about Moses all of a sudden. It's talking about Moses all of a sudden. And then, you guys, another interesting, and we're not just talking about one verse. There are many verses after this that are all about the Israelites. This whole surah is about Israelites. It's not even, it doesn't say nothing about the donkey. It doesn't say nothing about a Jannah. It doesn't say nothing about election. It's all about the Israelites and Moses. It has nothing to do with Muhammad. It's all about the Israelites and Moses. In fact, this is devastating too. In fact, the name of the surah, Al-Isra. Al-Isra. There's another name for this surah. There's another name for this surah. The other name is the Israelites. This verse is called El-Israelin. El-Israel, the Israelites. So this verse is called the Israelis. The name of this surah is actually, Israel. You add El to this verse and it becomes Israel. So this surah is actually called Israel. And the whole thing is about Israel. The whole thing is about Moses and Israel. Nothing about Muhammad in this. Nowhere is Muhammad named in this surah. It's all about Moses and the Israelites. And it's even called, there's two names for this surah. Al-Isra, which, Muslims take to mean the journey from Mecca to Jerusalem, which isn't, neither of which are mentioned in the surah. But in reality, it's Israel. It's about Israel. This surah is called the Surah of Israel. You guys, and so the Israelites. And if you read the surah, I mean, we could, I should show it to you too, so you see that I'm not making this up. It's kind of crazy, but let me show you the surah. Okay, we go immediately, okay, to verse 2. We gave Moses the scripture and made it a guidance for the children of Israel. Okay, the descendants of those who carried in the ship of Noah. Indeed, he was a grateful servant. We conveyed to the children of Israel the scripture that you cause corruption. Verse 4, then the promise came for the first time. We sent against you servants of ours, great military might. Then we gave you victory over them. We reinforced you with wealth and sons and made you more numerous. Okay, and if you do good and not do evil, then when a final promise came to sadden your faces for the first time, and okay, then Allah said is expected. If you repent, the Lord will have mercy upon you. Okay. And then in Hada, and this Quran, which is most suitable tiding for the believers. Okay. But it immediately goes into talking about Moses, and talking about the Israelites. And, like I said, this, the name of the surah is the Israelis. And so, you could just see that this is all about, here we go. And how many we destroyed of the generation of Noah, sufficient to your Lord concerning your sins, kind of showing, the people of Moses to look back at the time of Noah. Okay. So whoever desires the hereafter, it's each category. We never force them for hereafter greater in degrees. Okay. All right. But there's nothing about Muhammad in all of this. Nothing about Muhammad. Nothing about Mecca. Nothing about Jerusalem. Nothing about here's talking about and lower them from the wing of humility. Still talking about the Israelites. Okay. So anyway, this surah here, it has nothing to do with Jerusalem, with Mecca, or Muhammad. It's about Moses and the Israelites, and it makes some mentions of Noah as a lesson to the Israelites. So anyway, that's a problem. That's a problem since this is supposed to be about Jerusalem. So anyway, I also have an Arabic scholar, and I'm going to show you the video. And this Arabic scholar says, dude, who are we kidding? Who are we kidding with this magic donkey story? Who are we kidding with this magic donkey story? Okay? There's no such a thing. And I'll just play for you what he's saying, okay? I don't know, should I just tell you what he's saying first? No, let me just go ahead and show you the video, okay?
اقول لك هتوصل لايه يا دكتور من اذا كان هناك تفتير؟ اقول لك اوصل لايه وهقول.
Okay, so this interviewer is asking this doctor, Islamic, he's a doctor of Islam. He's asking him, what are you trying to tell us here? And what he's been talking to them about is the fact that this donkey ride, this magic donkey ride, did not go from Mecca to Jerusalem. He said it did not go from Mecca to Jerusalem. Okay, so that's what he's been saying, and that's what this interview is asking him. And this is on an Arabic channel called Mubasha. Al Yusuf Zaidan. Yusuf Zaidan. This is a big deal. This is a very famous guy. Okay, Yusuf Zaidan. Okay.
ليه اوصل له؟
And he says, let me tell you what the point I'm trying to make.
هوصل الى انه العلماء بتوعنا الاوائل الواقدي والطبري وكتير منهم قالوا يا جماعه المسجد الاقصى احنا مش عارفين ان سيدنا محمد بعد ما ضايقوه في قريش راح دعا في الطائف.
He's saying, you know, all our scholars, Al-Waqidi, Al-Tabari, they said, you know, what happened to Muhammad? You know, he was in Mecca, they persecuted him, so he fled, you know, and he came and stayed in a city called Al-Ta'if. There's a city called Al-Ta'if. And if you know anything about Islam, you know that Al-Ta'if is an important city to the Muslims, okay?
نعم. وعلى طريق الطائف في مسجد.
And he's saying, on the way to Al-Ta'if, on the way to this city,
جديد. مسجد اسمه المسجد الأدنى ومسجد اسمه المسجد الأقصى.
He said there are two mosques. One mosque is called Al-Adna. Al-Adna means the lower mosque.
فالآية
The other mosque is called Al-Aqsa. So there was an Al-Aqsa mosque just a few miles from Mecca. It's about 12 miles or so from Mecca. Okay, and it had two mosques. One was called Al-Adna, which means the lower, geographically lower, and the other one is called Al-Aqsa, which means the farther, which is what Al-Aqsa means. Even the one in Jerusalem, when it says Al-Aqsa, it's supposedly referring to this. Okay. By the way, Al-Aqsa is what verse 17:1 in the Quran says, that Allah took his servant from Al-Haram, which they believe to be Mecca, to Al-Aqsa. And so they believe Al-Aqsa is the one in Jerusalem. But this guy, who is a doctor of Islam, on TV saying, you guys, Muhammad used to go to an Al-Aqsa mosque. It wasn't in Jerusalem. It was a few miles from Mecca.
سورة الإسراء بتعبر عن حال النبي. فالآية في سورة الإسراء بتعبر عن حال النبي وهو بيفكر متحير زي إبراهيم كده سيدنا إبراهيم.
So you say this verse is talking about Muhammad, who was thinking like Abraham used to think, and you know, meditating.
لما قال رب أرني أنظر إليه موسى وإبراهيم وكتير من الأنبياء مروا.
And Moses and Abraham and a lot of the prophets, they used to sit and meditate.
مرحلة الحيرة دي.
They used to be in this place of confusion or distress, you know.
الآية بتقول سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده.
It says, the verse says, praise the one who took his servant
من المسجد الحرام إلى
from the mosque of the Haram, which supposedly is Mecca,
المسجد الأقصى
to the mosque of Al-Aqsa,
الذي باركنا حوله.
that we blessed its surroundings.
في وقت ما كانش فيه صلاة.
نعم.
He said, at that time, there was no prayer. He was saying at the time that this supposedly happened, there was no prayer.
يبقى إذن ده مكان تقديس ومكان معروف وإلا كان تم تعريفه.
نعم.
Okay, you have to go, if you want to pray, okay, you have to go to a place that is known and people respect it as a place where you can communicate with God.
طيب فالواقدي وغيره
So Al-Waqidi, who's the historian who wrote the very important book, The Reason for the Revelation,
قالوا ان ده المسجدين اللي هم على طريق مكة من جهة الطائف.
هو ده
he says there are two mosques between that are on the way to Ta'if from Mecca. And these two mosques are Al-Adna, the lower, and Al-Aqsa, the farther.
الحرام والأقصى.
And this guy's asking him, the name of the mosque is Al-Aqsa? And he's saying yes.
ليه؟ لأنه الأقصى ما كانش موجود.
Why is he saying this? Now he's talking about the Al-Aqsa in Jerusalem that is there today. If you go to Jerusalem today, there is an Al-Aqsa mosque. But he's saying that in the time of Muhammad, there was no Al-Aqsa mosque. He just said that in Arabic, Makanish Mawjud. There was no Al-Aqsa mosque in Jerusalem in the time of Muhammad.
ولا كانت المدينة الموجودة اسمها القدس، كان اسمها إيلياء.
And at that time, the city that we call Al-Quds or Jerusalem was called Aliyah. Because the Romans had changed its name. They wanted to erase the memory of the Jews.
نعم.
ولا كان فيها مساجد.
He said there were no sanctuaries, there were no mosques in Jerusalem.
بقول لك دليل تاني.
He says, I'll give you two proofs.
لما راح الخليفة عمر بن الخطاب.
When Umar bin al-Khattab went to Jerusalem,
أولا هو كان عنده جيوش.
he had armies.
الجيوش الأربعة.
The four armies.
اللي هي انتزعت دمشق بقى العاصمة.
The one that took Damascus.
قوادها تقريبا هم اللي كانوا حاضرين العهدة العمرية وشهدوا عليها. يعني
they were the ones who saw the covenant of Umar and witnessed it.
آخر العهدة العمرية هتلاقي وشهد بذلك معاوية بن أبي سفيان وخالد بن الوليد وعمرو بن العاص وأظن طلحة بن الزبير.
He named several of the Islamic like caliphs like Khalid ibn Walid and Muawiyah and Abdullah bin Zubair.
خلاص. العهدة دي بتقول إيه؟ أنا برضو جبت لك نصها علشان اللي عايز يراجع ورايا يراجع.
Says I'm giving you all the references, so whoever wants to go back and look at it.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هذا ما أعطى عبد الله أمير المؤمنين اللي هو الخليفة يعني أبو بكر.
Okay, he's saying this is what Umar, the prince of the believers, has given to the believers.
لاحظ هنا ما قالش الخليفة.
It says caliph.
عشان الناس اللي بيقول لك الخلافة جزء أساسي في الإسلام، ده هو عمر بن الخطاب هو نفسه مش بيصف نفسه بالخليفة.
He's saying Umar bin Khattab was so humble that he did not call himself the caliph, even though he was the caliph. But he was so humble that he didn't, even though he wasn't very humble with the way he treated Christians. But he was so humble.
أمير المؤمنين.
Called the Prince of Believers.
هذا ما أعطى عبد الله أمير المؤمنين أهل إلياء.
He says this is what Umar bin Khattab gave to the people of Aliyah, which is what Jerusalem, the Roman Jerusalem.
من الأمان. أعطاهم أمانا لأنفسهم وأموالهم.
He gave them safety for their lives and for their possessions.
لهم ولكنائسهم.
And to their churches.
لا تسكن كنائسهم.
Do not live in their churches.
ولا تهدم ولا ينتقص منها، يعني ما نجيش ناخد.
Don't destroy their churches and don't take away from it.
الجنان اللي جنبها.
Don't take the garden that's next to it, even though the Muslims built a mosque right next to them. Every single church, the mosques are built right next to them with a very loud speaker, including this church that they're talking about right now, which is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Right next to it is the mosque. Right next to it is the Mosque of Umar. bin al-Khattab. It's right in front of it, 50 feet from it.
ولا من خيرها ولا من صليبهم ولا
Won't take any of their good things or of their crosses
من شيء من أموالهم
or their money.
ولا يكرهون على دينهم
Don't force them from their religion.
ولا يضام منهم ولا يسكن بإلياء معهم أحد من اليهود.
Don't make even one of the Jews live with them. Excuse me just 1 second, you guys. I'll be with you just one. Sorry about that, you guys.
ليه بقى؟ لأن إيليا هي المدينة المسيحية.
Right then, he's saying because Elia was a city for the Christians.
نعم.
أورشليم بيتها مقداش دي اليهودية.
He says the Jerusalem, the city of the holy house temple, that's for the Jews.
نعم.
المدينة نفسها تاريخها أقدم.
The city itself, its history is older.
بكتير.
Much older.
إنما في الوقت اللي كان فيه اليهود.
But in the time that the Jews were there.
بعد سليمان بحسب التاريخ اليهودي العام يعني.
After Solomon.
حصلت خناقات وانقسمت دولتهم.
There was problems between the Jews and their country was divided in two. You know that this happened after Solomon. The country became Israel and Judah.
فبقى في مملكة في الشمال ومملكة في الجنوب.
There was a kingdom in the north and a kingdom in the south. This guy's been reading the Bible.
فاللي هي هوذا والسامرة.
نعم.
It was called Judah and Samaria. In reality, it's Judah and Israel. So, sorry, you guys. Sorry, you guys.
وكل واحدة ليها عاصمة.
And every country had its own capital.
فالعاصمة بتاعت يهوذا.
The capital of Judah.
كانت أورشليم.
Was Jerusalem.
تقول بقى إن أصلها كنعاني، تقول إن أصلها ليكن، بس هم سكنوها.
It says maybe it was something else originally, Canaanite or whatever, but the Jews lived there.
وعشان يقدروها عملوا لها لقب تسمية.
So in order to build it, they made it they kind of gave it a story and stuff.
احنا دلوقتي ما بنقولش مكة، بنقول البيت الحرام.
نعم.
We don't call Mecca, we call it the holy city.
ما بنقولش يثرب، بنقول المدينة.
We don't say Yathrib, we call it the city, the blessed city.
المدينة المنورة.
نعم.
مش كده؟ هم كمان.
ولكن مكة بنقول مكة، البيت الحرام في مكة.
فهم كمان بقوا يقولوا بيتها مقداش.
So they also called it the place of the holy temple.
أورشليم بيتها مقداش.
Jerusalem, the place of the holy temple.
يعني بيت القداسة أو القدس أو المقدس.
The house of the holy place or the holy house.
لما اتدمرت بقى المدينة على إيه؟
After the city was destroyed.
إلياس هادريانوس. اتبنت مدينة تانية في الزمن المسيحي.
After it was destroyed, they built another city, which was the Christian city.
Elia,
which wasn't really the Christian city; it was the Roman city.
نعم. كل الإشارات ليها. وأنا أصلا ذكرت الكلام ده مش بستعرض معلومات. أنا كنت بقول إن الولاد اللي بتهاجم البابا توادرس عشان راح القدس مش فاهمين.
نعم.
Okay, so he's going off now, but what he said, you guys, is pretty awesome and devastating for Muslims. He said that Al-Aqsa in the Quran, chapter 17, is not about Jerusalem. And he was very specific about why it's not about Jerusalem. Because there was no Al-Aqsa Mosque in the time of Muhammad. There was no Al-Aqsa Mosque in the time of Muhammad. Al-Aqsa wasn't built for over 70 years later. And the one who built it would be a guy named Abdul Malik. Abdul Malik. He's the one who would build it like 70 years after Muhammad died. He would build it. The Al-Aqsa Mosque was built around 700 AD. Muhammad died 632 AD. So there's no way he could have gone to the mosque because there was no mosque there. There was no mosque there. Now, if you look at what Muhammad said about the mosque, he said, oh, I saw the windows, I saw the doors, I got all these windows here, and Allah showed me the doors and showed me all this stuff. But there was no windows, there was no doors, there was no temple. Okay, that didn't happen for another 70 years after Muhammad died. And so there was no Al-Aqsa at his time. And so this guy, this is a Muslim scholar, you guys, on TV, telling everybody that the Al-Aqsa that is mentioned in the Quran is a mosque called Al-Aqsa, but it's a few miles away from Jerusalem. If you want to say that the servant in Quran 17:1 is Muhammad, no, the Quran doesn't say that. You can go ahead and insert his name like our English translators do. English translators always say this is all Muslims say that this is about Muhammad, okay? The Quran doesn't, but all Muslims do. All 150% say this is about Muhammad, but the Quran doesn't say that. The Quran seems actually to be saying this is about Moses. And there's another reason why I say this is about Moses, you guys, because let me just show you something. Let me just show you this, and this is going to be an Arabic issue, but it's an Arabic issue, but it's a significant issue, and I don't. Where is it? Is it here? Okay, there's a significant issue here. It says whose surroundings we have blessed. Okay, and it says, and if you look into Arabic, الذي باركنا حوله, which we have blessed. This is also what is said about the land that Moses walked on when it's talking about the burning bush. This is the same language that's used to talk about the burning bush, Moses and the burning bush. And so when it says whose surroundings we have blessed, it actually says that. Let me see if I can find that. Because there is it's actually in two places in the Quran, Surah 30. Okay. Here, let me show you this. This is in Surah 30, talking about Moses in the burning bush. It says, and when he came to it, was a place up by the right side of the valley in the blessed spot. Okay, al-Baq'a al-Mubarak. Okay, min shajara. Okay, it's talking about al-Wadi al-Ayman fil Baq'a al-Mubarak. Again, saying the place that was blessed. So this is very clearly talking about Moses. When Moses came, and it even says, Ya Musa, where Allah was inside the bush, where Allah was inside the burning bush. Allah was inside the burning bush, and he called to Moses, said, oh, Moses. Okay, so, but it uses the same language of the blessed, the surroundings. So, anyway, I believe 17:1 is supposed to be about Israel and about Moses. That's what it really looks like. But who cares? That the Muslims all are convinced that it's about Jerusalem. Muhammad going to Jerusalem on a donkey. Okay, there's no donkey. There's no mention of the name of the mosques. I mean, the cities that the mosques are in. There's only the name of the two sanctuaries. There's no mention of the name of the servant. There's no mention of the names of the cities of these two alleged mosques. But Muslims are going to say it's about Muhammad. And if it's going to be about Muhammad, then there is an Al-Aqsa mosque. According to this guy, there's an Al-Aqsa mosque a few miles from Mecca. Muhammad used to go there all the time. Muhammad used to go there all the time from Mecca to Medina. It was a well-known mosque. And there's many books that talk about this mosque. There's many Muslim books that talk about this mosque. This guy isn't just saying this out of the air. He's just saying, dude, we're shaking the world starting World War III, saying that Jerusalem is the spot. And he's saying, dudes, but the Quran doesn't say that. It's talking about the city 12 miles from Mecca. It's a few miles from Mecca. There's a city called Ta'if, and this is where the two mosques are. One is called Al-Adna, A-D-N-A, which means the lower, and Al-Aqsa, which means the farthest. So anyway, so there you have it, guys. And it's not me talking. I'm going to play the video again because I think the video is devastating. The video is devastating. Okay, let me just tell you here again.
من اذا كان هناك تفكير
اقول لك اوصل لايه وهقول لك ليه اوصل له. هوصل الى انه العلماء بتوعنا الاوائل الواقدي والطبري وكتير منهم.
He's saying all the leaders, Al-Waqidi, Al-Tabari, and many of them.
قالوا يا جماعه المسجد الاقصى.
The Al-Aqsa Mosque.
احنا مش عارفين ان سيدنا محمد بعد ما ضايقوه في قريش.
Muhammad, when they persecuted him in the Qurayshis,
راح دعا في الطائف.
he went and hung out in Ta'if.
وعلى طريق الطائف في مسجدين.
And on the way to Al-Ta'if, there were two mosques or two places of worship.
مسجد اسمه المسجد الأدنى ومسجد اسمه المسجد الأقصى.
A mosque or a place of worship, sanctuary called, place of bowing down or worship called Al-Adna, and one of them was called Al-Aqsa. Masjid means a place where you bow down.
فالآية في سورة الإسراء بتعبر عن حال النبي.
So the verse in Surah Al-Asra, chapter 17, verse 1, is talking about the situation of the prophet.
وهو بيفكر متحير.
As he's thinking, confused.
زي إبراهيم كده.
Like Abraham was.
سيدنا إبراهيم لما قال رب أرني أنظر إليه. موسى.
And Moses who wanted to look at him.
وإبراهيم.
And Abraham.
كتير من الأنبياء.
Many of the prophets.
مروا بمرحلة الحيرة دي.
All of them had this place of confusion.
بتقول سبحان الذي أسرى.
The verse says, praise be to the one
بعبده
who took his servant
مسجد الحرام إلى
from the mosque of the Haram, or the one in Mecca,
مسجد الأقصى
to the mosque of Al-Aqsa
الذي باركنا حوله.
that we blessed.
في وقت ما كانش فيه صلاة.
There was no prayer.
يبقى إذن ده مكان تقديس ومكان معروف وإلا كان تم تعريفه.
So it's a place because it is named, it has to be a place that is known. Because it's a place that is named, it has to be a place that is known. Wow, this guy is something else, man. He says, so nobody knew about Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem because there was no Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. He said, but the one in Ta'if, a few miles from Mecca, was known. This guy's tearing it up, man.
فالواقدي وغيره.
Al-Waqidi and others.
قالوا ان ده المسجدين اللي هم على طريق مكة من.
He says these two mosques are on the way to Mecca.
جهة الطائف.
هو ده الحرم.
In Al-Ta'if.
والأقصى.
ليه؟ لأنه الأقصى ما كانش موجود.
He says, and Al-Aqsa, the mosque in Jerusalem, didn't exist yet.
ولا كانت المدينة الموجودة اسمها القدس.
And the city that it was in wasn't called Jerusalem, even though the Quran doesn't say that about Jerusalem either.
كان اسمها إيلياء.
It was called Eliat, and then he goes into his long spiel about Eliat. So anyway, guys, this is devastating. You know, I actually did a video with David Wood about this. If you look back, I did it about 4 years ago. I did a video with David Wood about this topic with a lot more information than I'm showing here. So yeah, I did it. It was called, it was then that David Wood gave me the idea to make a song called Magic Donkey Ride. And I wrote it, you guys. And you know, Jai of Jai Apologetics, he really liked it and he recorded it and he used to listen to it all the time. It was called Come Take a Ride with Me, Little Aisha, on a Magic Donkey Ride. Yeah, it was from Stephen Wolf's Magic Carpet Ride. So that was David Wood's idea. So if you're offended by it, please talk to him. But anyway. So anyway, guys, just wanted to show you that. I hope there's some Muslims watching. This is an Arab guy. This is a Muslim guy. This is a Muslim doctor telling you that there was no such a Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. You know, there's no magic donkey. He didn't need a winged donkey to be led by Jibreel to go 12 miles from Mecca to Al-Ta'if. Okay. And just out of curiosity, guys, I'm going to look real close here. Let me just see if there's somebody else who's going to talk about this. Okay, this is another one. Let me see this one.
There's a power within each of us.
Yo, boy, yeah. Get me out of here. Let me see if this one says anything here.
أخيرة من سلسلة قبة الصخرة سوف نحاول إسرائيلي في قرية الجعرانة الواقعة بين مكة والكيان الإسرائيلي. إذا المسألة هي مرتبطة أيضا بالخلفيات السياسية وليس بالبحث العلمي والأكاديمي. وتعود الفرضية إلى رواية ذكرها المؤرخ محمد الواقدي يذكر فيها مسجدا يسمى المسجد الأقصى في قرية الجعرانة.
Okay, now this guy is arguing the other side. He's saying هل المسجد الأقصى هي مسجد الجعرانة في السعودية? Okay, this guy is saying, is the mosque Al-Aqsa the one that's in Saudi Arabia? And this guy's arguing against it. Okay, so this guy's arguing against it. Let me just see if there is anyone else talking about it. Okay. Let me see. See if there's anyone else. Okay, Yusuf Zidane Yikshif.
مسجد وبعدين اتسع المسجد مع يعني نشاط واتساع الدولة الإسلامية. إنما وقت نزول القرآن ما كانش في مسجد أقصى، كان في كنيسة القيامة.
He's saying in the time of the Quran there was no mosque called Al-Aqsa. Okay. See, I want you guys to see these are Muslims talking here.
فهل اللي زعلانين دول زعلانين على كنيسة القيامة ولا إيه بالظبط؟
So those who are angry, are they mad about the resurrection church or what? Because there was no Al-Aqsa Mosque in the time of Muhammad. There was the Church of the Resurrection, the Holy Sepulchre. Is everybody mad about that?
طيب المسجد الأقصى المذكور في القرآن تقول بأنه يوجد حسب الرواية التاريخية بين مكة والمدينة، أليس كذلك؟
So this lady is asking him, so the Quran is saying that the mosque Al-Aqsa that is mentioned in the Quran is between Mecca and Medina in Saudi Arabia?
هناك يعني اولا انا مش بقول انا كتبت الكلام ده، موجود بالتفصيل وبالمصادر وبالضبط يعني.
He's saying, I'm not saying this was written with many references, with much evidence and proof
التاريخي في
and historical evidence
في عدة مقالات وفي كتاب
in many articles and in a book.
هي اسمه شجون تراثية. فما اعرفش ليه اللي بيحبوا يردوا عليا دايما ياخدوا يقولوا وصرح بكذا. طب ما انا كاتب، ما تردوا على المكتوب. على كل حال، وفي الوقت ده احنا عارفين ان سيدنا محمد راح دعا في الطائف على
Okay, he's saying at that time of in the Quran, the time of when Muhammad was leaving, he used to go to Al-Ta'if all the time.
طريق مكة الطائف.
He was on the way to Mecca.
الطائف كان فيها كعبة اللات الكبرى في الجزيرة.
In Al-Ta'if, there was another Kaaba. You guys know the Kaaba as the black cube that they worship in Mecca. Well, there was another one of those cubes. There was about 11 of these cubes in Arabia. And the cube that was in Al-Ta'if was the one for the goddess Alat. Remember Alat, you guys? That was one of the three goddesses, the three daughters of Allah. So he's saying this is one of the three goddesses, the three daughters of Allah. Alat, Al-Uzza, Al-Manat, that Muhammad worshipped, and then everybody worshipped. And the situation of the satanic verses, where that's where Al-Ta'if was. Alat's temple was there in Al-Ta'if.
العربية، وكانت منطقة مقدسة يعني.
And it was supposedly a holy place.
فكان الذهاب إليها بيبقى في موضوعان للسجود في بلد اسمها الجعرانة. الكلام ده مش
Okay, and there was on the way there was this little city called Al-Ja'rana, and there was two places for worship.
كلامي ده كلام المؤرخين.
This isn't my words, these are the words of historians.
الأوائل. بس الناس استسلمت ما يتردد
But people got used to what they hear by repetition.
أو ما أسميه أنا الاشتهار بالتكرار.
They're just kind of used to whatever they're what they're used to hearing.
إنه كل سنة ذكرى الإسراء والمعراج.
Every year you remember the Isra Mi'raj, the donkey journey to Jerusalem and then to Jannah.
فالناس صدقت مع الوقت.
So people believed it after time.
فلما بنقول لهم يا جماعة حكاية إنه لما نقول يا أستاذة مسجد أقصى لازم يبقى في أدنى.
When we say the Mosque of Al-Aqsa, there has to be Al-Adna, and that is in Ja'rana, which is on the way to Al-Ta'if. And so you guys, there you go. Two Muslim scholars telling you that Al-Aqsa is not in Jerusalem. Al-Aqsa is not in Jerusalem. It's in Arabia. Wow. That was the first time I ever saw that, you guys. Let's see if there's anybody else talking about it. I'll tell you what, this burns people up, man. Let me see if this is, I don't know what this says, okay, but it's not very long.
انت دلوقتي بتقول لي الاقصى رغم انه خدي بالك انا عامل بحث لما كنت
he's saying you okay when I was last year student at Al-Azhar
اخر سنه في جامعه الازهر في كليه الشريعه انا عملت بحث.
You can read it there. He says when I was at Al-Aqsa I did research.
بالمستندات وموجود في جامعه الازهر البحث ده.
And my books or whatever I wrote is at Al-Aqsa is about Al-Aqsa.
بيثبت ان المسجد الاقصى مش في فلسطين.
It proves, he says it proves that Al-Aqsa Mosque is not in Palestine.
المسجد الاقصى موجود في مدينه الجعرانه.
It is in the city called Ja'rana in Arabia.
على بعد 25 في داخل السعوديه على بعد
about 25 miles or kilometers from Medina.
25 كيلو من المدينه المنوره.
This you guys is a sheikh from Al-Azhar University, the Vatican of Sunni Islam in Egypt. the top. This is the number one Islamic educational institution in the world. This guy is from there. And he's saying, I did research, and all my papers are written. They're at Al-Azhar. They know that Al-Aqsa is not the one in Jerusalem.
هذا الموجود.
هذا اللي بفلسطين شو هذا لكان؟
And so this lady's asking, this reporter, so what is this thing that's in Palestine then?
اللي في فلسطين ده بناه عبد الملك بن مروان، مكتوب
Says Abd al-Malik bin Marwan built it.
كده يافطة عليه لحد الآن. بناه عبد الملك بن مروان.
It's even written on it right now, you know, in the year 63 AH.
سنة 63 هجرية، يعني بعد ما مات.
الإسراء والمعراج.
It was after Muhammad died by about 30 years.
عفوا منك عشان نفهم الصورة اللي يعني هو تعلق المسلمين بالأقصى عشان بيقولوا محمد عرج على
اوكي بس
And so she's saying, so everything that the Muslims believe that Muhammad rode on this donkey from Mecca to Jerusalem.
أقصى هو سيدنا
And he's saying, which Al-Aqsa?
النبي راح فلسطين.
Did Muhammad go to the Palestine? No, the Prophet did not go to Palestine.
النبي ما راحش فلسطين. هو الأقصى اللي هو مسجد الأقصى ما زال موجود.
He says that Al-Aqsa Mosque still exists in the city of Jarnane. And by the way, guys, I know you've heard two cities. You call it Jarnane and Ta'if. Ta'if is the city that he was going to. But on the way to Ta'if, there was a city called Jarnane.
في مدينة الجعرانة، في مسجدين في مدينة الجعرانة.
Two mosques in the
مسجد اسمه الأدنى ومسجد
one's called Al-Adna, the lower,
اسمه الأقصى.
called the farther.
الأدنى الأقرب والأقصى الأبعد.
He says Al-Adna is the closer, Al-Aqsa is the farther.
الأبعد.
ما زالوا موجودين الاثنين؟
ما زالوا موجودين.
He says they both still exist today.
الأقصى
And he says, I have Islamic documents.
ده وده أنا عامله بمستندات إسلامية ب 62.
ما لهم حق بفلسطين على الآخر على.
So this lady is saying, so Muslims have no right to Palestine at all. That
الكلام.
according to this talk.
موضوع حق بقى، احنا دلوقتي بنتكلم في ده إنسان يعيش وده يعيش.
Yeah, we're not talking about that, he says. We want these people to live and these people to live.
خلاص وده على نفس الأرض.
الإنسانيا بحق للكل يعيشوا، الإنسانيا
لا بالنسبة لل.
He says we're talking religiously. He says the struggle over Al-Aqsa.
بالنسبة للأقصى دي كذبة كبرى إنه هو في.
Says this is a big lie that Al-Aqsa is in Palestine, meaning the one in Jerusalem.
فلسطين دي كذبة كبرى لسبب كمان بسيط جدا.
And it's very simple because Al-Aqsa.
بسيط جدا. المسجد ده زي ما بنقوله اليافطة مكتوب عليه وما زالت مكتوبة.
So there's a big sign on it that written on it.
مكتوبة من وقتها يعني إنه بناه عبد الملك بن مروان.
It was built on 63 AH. 63 AH. Muhammad died 32 AH. That's 31 years after Muhammad died, this mosque was built.
60 هجرية. طب 63 هجرية يعني بعد سيدنا النبي ما مات ب 60 سنة أو أكثر أو.
This guy didn't know when Muhammad died. He says it's about 60 years after Muhammad died.
في الحدود دي يعني. طيب هو إزاي سيدنا النبي هيعمل.
So he's saying, so how did Muhammad go to this mosque?
يروح مسجد وهو ما كانش مبني أصلا مش موجود.
It didn't even exist yet.
نمرة اثنين المسجد ده جنب الكنيسة اللي دخلها سيدنا عمر ومرضاش يصلي فيها، خدي بالك، اللي هي كانت إيليا وقتها.
He's saying in the mosque that's there is next to the church that Umar bin Khattab said don't go in it.
إيليا ومرضاش يصلي فيها عشان المسلمين ما يتخذهاش من بعده مسجدا، خدي بالك من الكلام. وطلع صلى بره الكنيسة. طيب ما هو مبنى الكنيسة جنبيه المسجد الأقصى. طب لو المسجد الأقصى موجود يبقى كان سيدنا عمر هيصلي فيه.
He said if Umar bin Khattab went to Jerusalem way after Muhammad died, and he says, and he wanted to pray there, and this guy is saying he wanted to pray there, and so he went to the church. I mean, the guy in the church, the patriarch, said, "You can go ahead and pray in here in the church," and he said, "No, I won't pray here because then all the Muslims are going to come pray here," and so he would not pray in the church, and there was no place for him to pray, and so this guy is saying if there was a mosque there, Umar bin Khattab would have gone and prayed there. He said there was no mosque there, you know.
صح
مش كده؟
صح
طب ما صلاش فيه وما حدش قال ان كان في مسجد اقصى.
He said nobody prayed there and there was no Al-Aqsa.
يبقى ما كانش موجود.
It didn't
صح.
exist.
بكل بساطه يعني الناس بس مش عايزه تسمع وتفهم.
Says people just don't want to hear and don't want to listen.
احنا عايشين في شعارات وكلام.
We love to live in slogans and words.
وكلام في كلام وقضيه مصنوعه عشان
And a manufactured cause
يفضل الصراع شغال
to keep the struggle going
بدون توقف.
without stopping. Dang, that guy, all these guys, I'm so impressed by all these guys, man. So I'm so surprised. You know, I didn't well, there you have. You've had, I think you've had 4 Arab Muslims saying that the mosque was not in Mecca, in Jerusalem. It's not the one in Jerusalem. It's in Arabia. It's still there. So there you have it, you guys. Dude, that is heavy duty. So, all right, you guys. Well, you know, but it is the place that Jesus said, when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, that those who are in Judea flee to the mountains, because, yep. All right, you guys. Well, tell you the truth, I didn't expect most of that stuff. Like 3/4 of the stuff that I showed you, I didn't even plan on it. I just saw it right there. And I bet if I stayed longer, show you another 20 videos like this of Muslims saying Jerusalem is not the mosque mentioned in the Quran is not the one in Jerusalem. It's in Arabia. And so, website in Maradaj. Oh, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot. Thank you, Brother Lewis, for that. I'll read that. So anyway, I also want to say something too. There's a hadith where Aisha says, I'm not sure, you know, Aisha was a young kid. She was 12 years old, 11 years old, 13 years old. And so she said stuff, you know, kids say the darndest thing. And she was a young kid. And so she said everything. And so everything she thinks was in the hadith. She wrote it in the hadith. And so one thing Aisha said is the night of this alleged donkey ride, Muhammad was in the bed with her. Muhammad was in the bed with her. So if he actually rode on a donkey and went to Jerusalem, and 908 miles away, 15-hour drive, and then flew up to Jannah, and then came back down from Jannah and flew back from Jerusalem, 908 miles, you know, he would have at least not been in the bed, you know. You know, she is a hadith machine, really. And Muhammad said, take half your religion from her. Muhammad said, take half your religion from her. So any Muslim who disregards Aisha, he's in trouble because he's disobeying Muhammad. Of course, Muhammad said, take the Quran from Abdullah bin Mas'ud and Ubay bin Ka'b, and Muslims didn't obey him about that either. They took it from Uthman instead. And today they take it from Hafs. So I'm not sure exactly. Oh, okay. Brother Andrew has a link here. If you're more interested, want to find out more about this. But you guys, the stuff I showed you tonight, the videos, They're devastating videos. Seriously devastating. They're saying that the idea that Al-Aqsa Mosque is in Jerusalem is a fairy tale because there is an Al-Aqsa Mosque, and it's right next to Mecca. It's right a few miles from Medina. 25 kilometers from Medina. It was about 12 miles. Okay, in a city called Jardana, on the way to Ta'if, where the temple of Alat. Learned a lot of stuff today. So, all right, you guys. Well, I learned a lot today, really, and to hear those guys, jeez. I think I'm definitely going to do another follow-up to this, just because I'm serious. I really think that if I go right now and look up, there's going to be another 20 videos on this from Muslims saying Al-Aqsa is not in Jerusalem. And you guys, the whole reason for the conflict in the Middle East right now is the belief, including by Iran, is because of the belief that Al-Aqsa is in Jerusalem. That's the whole cause of the Arab-Israeli conflict, is Al-Aqsa in Jerusalem. So this is super devastating. Oh, man. Dang. All right, you guys. Well, that was fun. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. And if you haven't done it, please do it now. Jesus help me. Yes, RB. I'm sorry. I hope that doesn't, cause you disappointment. RBB is disappointed here. It says no magic donkey. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that, man. I don't mean to cause you despair. If you haven't done it, please do it now. Jesus help me. Jesus forgive me. Jesus come into my heart. Jesus help me. Jesus forgive me. Jesus come into my heart. يسوع ساعدني. يسوع سامحني. يسوع ادخل قلبي. We love you, but much more importantly, he loves you. Have a great night. Thank you.
If you have ever wondered why dull apologists lie so much, it's because on a rare occasion that they tell the truth, this happens.
One of the reasons I accepted Islam was the scientific miracles. I'll be honest with you. And now we know that this whole scientific miracles was absolute nonsense.
That the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say.